She beat every warrior and was exiled. The human she challenged caught her blade. Beginning the last arena. The twin sons of Tharan Prime bled orange light across the colossal arena. For centuries, this stone coliseum had hosted the most brutal contests of the Karai Dominion, a warrior people who measured worth only through combat. Their legends sang of duels that toppled monarchs, of warriors who rose from slaves to kings through the trial of blades. To lose was dishonor. To win was survival. At the center of the arena stood Kalira, her silver skin streaked with crimson battle paint, her black braids woven with rings of bone. She was no ordinary warrior. She was the first in centuries to ascend through every challenge, defeating 100 champions without a single defeat. Her people chanted her name in thunderous unison, Kalira, Kalira, Kalira. The final duel ended swiftly. She disarmed her opponent, the Dominion's High Warlord, with a single ruthless twist of her blade. The crowd fell silent, stunned at the unthinkable sight of their greatest warrior falling to his knees before her. Then the arena erupted, not in triumph, but in outrage. Because she had beaten everyone. And in Tharan culture, no one was permitted to exist above the Dominion itself. By their laws, she was too dangerous, too proud, too victorious to belong. Victory had brought her exile. The council decreed her punishment that night. You are banished beyond the veil of worlds. You will walk the stars alone until your shadow fades. Never return. Kalira did not bow. She only clenched the hilt of her sword, the weapon she had carried since childhood, forged from meteoric iron, etched with the names of the fallen. Her exile began not with chains, but with the silent steps of a woman who had defeated everything and still lost everything. Middle. A blade meets flesh, a culture meets another. The Dominion ship hurled her across wormhole space. For days, Kalira wandered aimlessly through barren star systems, her warrior's purpose hollow without battle. She slept with her blade across her chest, whispering names of enemies and allies alike into the void. Then her craft faltered, drawn by a gravity well toward an unknown blue-green world, Earth. She crash-landed in a vast desert at dawn. Her vessel shattered, flames licking at the sand, but she emerged unscathed, her silver skin gleaming, her blade still in hand. Earth's air felt thin, but alive. She had never seen skies so unscarred by war. Her presence was not unnoticed. Military satellites detected her descent, and within hours, armored vehicles surrounded her crash site. Soldiers poured out, rifles raised, their commands sharp and nervous. Kalira lifted her sword, her posture calm, her eyes assessing them as prey. Among the soldiers stood Captain Elias Ward, a decorated combat veteran, chosen for his ability to face the unexpected. Where the others trembled, he simply stepped forward, his rifle lowered, but his gaze unflinching. Through translators and shouts, the soldiers demanded surrender. Kalira, understanding none of their words, pointed her blade at Elias. Her exile had left her craving purpose, and here was a new test, a new duel. She lunged. The soldiers shouted, bullets chambering, but Elias moved first. He didn't fire. He dropped his weapon and raised his bare hand. Kalira's sword flashed, a silver arc toward his throat. And then he caught the blade. The clash of skin against metal should have ended him. But Elias's palm closed around the flat of the sword, halting its deadly edge inches from his jugular. Sparks danced as alien steel pressed into human flesh. Blood trickled down his hand. He did not flinch. For the first time in her life, Kalira hesitated. This human, this fragile creature, had met her strike not with armor or speed, but with will. His eyes, steady and unafraid, bore into hers with something she had never seen before. Not hatred. Not fear. Something else. The human's defiance. Kalira withdrew, more shaken than she cared to admit. No warrior had ever stopped her blade mid-swing. The soldiers surged forward, but Elias held up his bleeding hand, commanding them to stand down. Slowly, he addressed her, his voice calm, deliberate. The words meant nothing to her, but his tone carried something universal, a refusal to submit, but also an invitation. Over the following days, she was taken into containment at a military base. Scientists swarmed around her, trying to communicate, probing her biology, her shipwreck, her weapon. But Kalira spoke little, her eyes always watching Elias when he entered. She ignored the others, but when he gestured, she listened. Piece by piece, language bridged the gap. She learned words: water, fight, exile, warrior. When she pointed to him, she learned his name, Elias. And when he pointed to her, his steady voice wrapped clumsily around her name, Kalira. Through translators, he asked about her people. She told him of exile, of endless victories that brought only loneliness. He asked what she wanted now. Her answer was simple: worthy battle. But as weeks passed, she began to see Earth differently. Here were people who built not for conquest, but for survival. They waged wars, yes, but they also healed, created, dreamed. Children laughed in playgrounds. Farmers tended fields not for glory, but for sustenance. And Elias, always Elias, spoke of choices. Of fighting not just enemies, but for peace. Kalira's certainty wavered. For the first time, she wondered if there was purpose beyond endless duels. Rising conflict. The Dominion had not forgotten her. A scout fleet detected her survival and descended upon Earth, declaring it an unworthy world tainted by their exile's presence. The sky lit with burning ships. Humanity's defenses buckled against alien firepower. Kalira knew the fleet. She recognized their insignias, their maneuvers. They were her people, once hers. To them, Earth was nothing but collateral in a hunt to erase her shame. The military demanded she fight for them. Elias asked her, not with commands, but with trust. "Will you stand with us?" he asked. Kalira looked at him, at the soldiers, at the civilians scrambling for shelter. For the first time, she lifted her blade not for glory, not for exile's pain, but for others. "Yes," she said simply. The battle for Earth. The Dominion strike began with orbital bombardments. Kalira, armored in salvaged pieces of her ship, led human strike teams through burning cities. Her blade cut through Dominion warriors like lightning, her voice carrying commands that soldiers followed without hesitation. Elias fought beside her, rifle blazing, hand still scarred from where he had first stopped her blade. But the Dominion sent more than soldiers. They sent the Obsidian Champion, a warlord Kalira once trained beside. Towering in black armor, wielding a plasma halberd, he descended into the ruins of New Cairo, demanding her submission. The duel shook the earth. Sparks and flames marked every clash. The champion roared accusations. "You should have died with honor. Instead, you protect these frail creatures." Kalira's voice rang back, louder than the crashing steel. "They're more than you will ever see." But the champion was relentless. His strikes drove her to her knees. The human soldiers tried to intervene, but Elias held them back. This was her fight. At the final moment, as the champion's halberd descended, Elias charged forward, firing at the warlord's exposed joints. The distraction gave Kalira her opening. With a final surge, she drove her blade through the champion's chest, splitting armor, flesh, and pride. The warlord fell, smoke rising from his ruin. The Dominion fleet, leaderless, faltered. Humanity's combined resistance pushed them back into orbit. Earth stood bloodied, but unbroken, ending a new oath. When the smoke cleared, Kalira stood among the ruins, her blade dripping with ash. The soldiers cheered her name, not as an exile, not as a conqueror, but as an ally. Children brought her flowers, unafraid of her silver skin. And Elias, his hand still scarred but steady, stood beside her. "You don't have to fight anymore," he told her quietly. "You've already proved who you are." Kalira looked at him, at Earth, at the fragile, but unyielding people she had once dismissed. Slowly, she drove her sword into the ground, burying it in the soil of a world she chose to protect. For the first time in her life, she lowered her weapon willingly. "I will fight again," she said softly. "But not for Exile. Not for pride. For this world. For your people." And as the twin suns of a distant home burned far away, Kalira found something no battle had ever given her: belonging.